Hi, hello, my name's Beth. I'm an avid reader and an aspiring author, and it has been too long since I have sat down here and put the camera on and spoken about books. That is because hopefully I'll be moving soon, so my flat's a bit of a mess, and I don't know, I've also been trying to focus on my artwork and try and get that going. Not been going well. Like my Etsy, I'll put links down below as always, even though it's not book related. But today, before I waffle on forever, I'm just going to wrap up what I read in January, February, March, April, May. In May. May was a very good reading month, and so far June is sitting out to be a not so good, because we're a week into it. Today is the 7th? 8th? Oh, I've lost track of time. And I have read absolutely bugger all. But I plan on spending today reading, so hopefully I can make up a fair amount of time. But yeah, so I'm going to do first what I read in May, and then I'm going to do my intended reading for June. Oh my goodness, months. Also, my hair looks weird today because I've got it up in a ponytail because it's warm in Scotland for once. But yeah, so the first book I read in, I keep wanting to say April, it was May. Like, May just seemed to have flashed by. But yeah, it was Fellowship of the Ring. This is the reason I didn't get more read in April, because this is a beastie book. But it's good. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I think by now, Lord of the Rings has become... Does it count as a classic now? I think so. And I really enjoyed this, even if at points I did, like, curse Tolkien's name for being so overly descriptive of things. But yeah. I don't really know what to say about this, because I think most people already know the story of Frodo getting the ring, and like this is the beginning of his journeys. Also, because I'd seen the films first, I didn't realise how long they took to take in the shower. No, in the Shire in the book. Oh my goodness, it takes them forever. Like, honestly. Sort of about that much. Like, that's when... This is when they start getting to, like, the prancing pony, so they're only in Bree. That much of it. I mean, yeah, there is still a huge amount there. But, like, it's like the first 10 minutes, 10, 20, half hour of the film. So I didn't realise just quite how long they were in, like, the Shire and that sort of area. And then the next book I finished was a non-fiction book, and that was Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given. I follow Florence on Instagram. If you're a woman and you don't, I highly suggest you do, because her stories on Instagram just like, it's like a pep talk every day just to be yourself and do you. Also, I really enjoyed this book. It's not like groundbreaking feminism. It's a good gateway into feminism, but also it's really easy to read because of the illustrations. And I think even if you have read a lot of feminist literature, it's good to go back to the basics and just have those points of just, oh, I missed that point, or I've like lost that point because I've been reading too much and I need just to go back to the basics. Also, this book is solid. So if I ever need to, like, I'm going to keep it on my nightstand, so that if I ever get attacked, I've got a book I can whack them with, because it's heavy. Even though it's only 200 and something pages, so, like, a couple of days reading for me, because I didn't sit down and read it consecutive, like, all in one go. The next book I read, The War of the Worlds. I love the musical. Is there I've not seen the film, but I love the musical, and I didn't realise how much there was change between this and that. obviously not quite, it's still the same story, but there's just some plot points that are changed between it. And if you like sci-fi, or even if you don't like sci-fi, because I'm not really a sci-fi fan, I like fantasy, but I'm not really a sci-fi fan. This book is incredible, and it was so easy to read, because it's kind of, I want to say it's like a diary, because it's not a diary, but it has that same sort of a person just reflecting on the events that have happened. So I highly recommend, highly recommend. Also, this cover is incredible, and it's a floppy book, which I said in my haul because floppy books for the win. I thought I just screwed it up as I put it down. Whew. Then the next book I finished was Exciting Times. I went into this without really knowing what it was about. There we go, I had to move how I was sitting because my knee was hurting. Yeah, I went into this not really knowing what it was about. I knew it was on the long list for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I recommend it. I know a lot of people, I'm gonna burp, oh no, maybe I'm not, don't like this book because they think the title, it doesn't match up to what actually happens in the book, because nothing really overly exciting happens. And that's the point. It's sarcasm. It's like exciting times because a lot happens but nothing happens. The only thing I will say is the ending is kind of shit, to put it lightly. Honestly, if this had just like, because it's done in 3 books, if it had just ended at the end of the second book, and kind of like a couple of chapters after that, it would have been a lot better than it actually is. But if you want something nice and easy to read with a bit of woman loving woman, and like a bisexual person being shown, I think she's bi, she ends up with a man and with a woman. I don't think that's really spoiling anything. Maybe it is, I'm sorry if I have. And it shows them with not being this, trying to think how a lot of, I can't find the words. Not over sexualized or anything. The sex and that's kind of just skipped over, and it's just the normal parts of a relationship, the having conversations, having coffee with your partner, and that kind of thing. And I highly recommend it. Also, this cover is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And then the final book I read was The Vanishing Half. Oh my god, I can't recommend this book enough. I highly think this is going to win the women's... Oh, I can't say that because I've not read any of the... Oh, I've got cramp in my foot. Apparently that was a short cramp intermission. I've not read any of the other than these 2 books, of the books on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. But this is on the short list, and it deserves that place so much. Oh my goodness, please go and read this book. It deals with every... Other than climate change, it deals with every big issue we have in our world today, but it's set in the 60s. And I want this made into like a nice, like, nostalgic film. Like, you know, those films that have like a very prominent colour palette running throughout, because it would suit it so well. And like the representation of familial relationships and what you'll do for love. I just love it. And how we all present ourselves in a way that we want to be presented, and if we're lying to do that and it gets crushed, how quickly the world can fall apart. Please go and read this book. It's incredible. I love it so much. This is probably going to be, I mean, obviously I've got a lot of books still to read this year. I think this is going to be within my top books for this year, because it's incredible. And this book, reading this book, kind of is making me want to do a master's degree, just so I can, because I studied American history and literature, just so I can write some sort of essay on, that was close, on the people of colour's perspectives in books and how they're written and how they can offer so much in our understanding of race in the real world. This book, man, go read it. And now I've finished ranting about the books that I have already read. We're going to go on to books I haven't read because my TBR shelf is kind of intense. That's my partner's big TBR, and he is not looking forward to it. But I've mostly taken over this bookshelf now until we move, and then who knows where I'll be. So let's start with the books I'm already part of the way through that I plan on reading, and that is the first thing is The Keeper of Lost Things. I'm not really a fan of this edition's cover, but I bought it second hand, so I can't complain. And this is just about someone who spent their life collecting things, and then he dies and needs to try and get his assistants trying to return the lost things to their owners. And I'm only 11 pages in at the moment, so doing really great. But I'm gonna go and curl up on the sofa once I film this and read this. But it just seems like a nice, light summer read. And now I'm saying that something horrible's going to happen in this, knowing my luck. But no, it should be good. And it's quite a small book. I say it's only small. It's still over 300 pages. It's just on that really thin paper. I'd prefer to have thick paper, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, we all have our different preferences for books. The next book is, of course, I've just read The Fellowship, Two Towers. I'm a solid few pages into this, but it's really annoying because it continues on from that with the numbering, so trying to put it into like Goodreads and Storygraph, it's really frustrating because they've just got, it's like it's a 300 and something page book, when in reality the end page of this is 720 something. So, but the Tolkien books is my long read, and if I put it down for a few weeks and I've got hiccups now, and I don't finish it, I'm not going to feel guilty about it, because they are heavy books, they are intense. Not just what happens, just the writing style makes them difficult to read. And then talking about heavy books, I'm going to read Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge, is that, I think that's how you pronounce it, I could be wrong, but I've studied racism, I've studied the black experience, or the person of colour experience rather, for my degree, and this just feels like good continued reading. If you have any suggestions for books by American writers, or even British, that focus on race, please let me know, because I'm obsessed. That sounds really weird. By obsessed, I mean it was what I studied, and I find them really fascinating. Especially if they're like, at the time I hated it. I hated it so much, I couldn't stand it, Native Son. Now I'm out of my education, I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually a really good book and had some really good points. I've not read, is it called The Colour Purple? I think that's what it's called. So that might have to be one I pick up once I've finished my already mountainous TBR. And then the final book that hopefully I'll get around to this month, but I'm not entirely sure, is The Midnight Library. This book has so much hype at the moment. I'm jumping on the hype train. This book is gorgeous to look at. Don't play a drinking game with how many times I have dropped a book in this video, because it's getting insane. The only thing I hate about, like, when books become popular, mostly, the same with the Vanishing Half, actually, when they put these annoying, like, one-line reviews on the cover. I don't mind them being on the back. I mean, I still wish blurbs were longer these days, but also it's a nice surprise going into a book. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I'm gonna have to make sure I'm in an emotionally okay state, because apparently this is an intense book, and it does. I'm gonna put a trigger warning just in case people have been living under a rock and somehow stumble across this video and haven't seen this book. It does deal with themes of suicide, so if that's something that's you're not comfortable with, don't pick up this book. But I believe the main character does commit suicide, and then gets transported into a library where she gets to live out a lot of different lives. And I think this is a really cool concept. It's my first ever Matt Haig book I've read. I know he's a prolific writer and he just churns out books, so I'm excited. I'm very excited. And that is all. I mean, I might dip into these books. What I actually read compared to my April-May TBR is very different, because I bought a lot more books. Also, if I can afford it this month, I'm going to buy Utopia Avenue by... Nope, forgotten it. I think his name is David something, because there is I don't like buying from Amazon, but it's the only place where I can find the really beautiful psychedelic hardcover edition, and I need that in my life, because you may not know it from what you've seen on here, but my artwork and things is very much based on 60s and 70s psychedelia. If you want to, like, see some of my artwork or me to talk about stuff other than books, let me know, because as much as I love reading, books are not entirely my life. And so yeah, that is it for today. I hope you've either found new books, found this interesting, have enjoyed looking at my bookshelf behind me that's got massive gaps out of it from where I've taken what I'm going to read. But my goal now, like for the rest of the year, is to read at least... I'm trying to read a fiction and a non-fiction book each month, just because it keeps you well-rounded. But yeah, so that's it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!